I think so much of voiceover, right, is about imitating, right? It's about figuring out how you can, when you start out, it's about figuring out how you can imitate people, different characters, and then figuring out how to do that. And in so doing, you figure out how to use your voice, how to morph your voice in different ways, right? And then you create your own.
Well, that was Jen Taylor, voice of Cortana.
Really excited to meet her.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Can you let me finish my little review
excited.
of her quote?
All right, go for it.
Well, she shared with us her approach to developing a voice as she does voiceover in her craft. And we chatted with Jen and Steve Downs, voice of Master Chief.
Also very excited
together.
to meet him. Yeah.
Yeah. What a great conversation. Haven't hung out with those two in quite a while. So a good trip down memory lane and a really cool conversation.
Yeah, and Jen called us from her living room couch, and Steve called us from his office. Did you notice? He was
which is
a closet. Yeah,
but it was a recording booth.
It's a closet converted to a recording booth, and we didn't talk about it during the episode. I saw it and I recognized it, and he sounded great. It's like, wow.
Yeah, that was something I realize. Sometimes I forget just how kind of like inside baseball, we are. And I'm sure there's plenty of folks listening who have never been to a VO session. And you've done VO.
Yeah.
What's it like when you go record VO?
It's the best thing in the world.
Paint the picture for I know you love it, but paint the picture for.
So here's the picture. Okay, so
you arrive, you drive over there, you park, you get out of the car, you're eating an apple because that's crisping up your voice, right?
Yeah,
you had no dairy all morning.
A green apple, no dairy.
Green apple. You walk in,
and you don't know what your lines are usually. Usually the lines, they give them to you right then. Sometimes they do. Actually, it depends. I think Jen and Steve probably get them like ahead of time. Every time I've done it, I've never had the script. So you have to.
They give you a script, and you're reading off the script when you're doing your.
Yeah, they'll be like, "Hey, can you do a pirate?" Or "Hey, can you do a this or that?" And
but paint the picture of the recording studio.
The studio. Oh, okay. So there's an engineer who's sitting now, and not a programmer engineer, like a sound engineer.
Yeah, like an audio engineer.
Yeah, and then
like a Jay Wineland type.
Yeah, and you have them who sometimes direct you. Sometimes there's an actual director. Sometimes there's multiple
like a game
team
producer, maybe.
Yeah,
is the director.
Yeah, there's
who's telling you scream louder, and you're like, "Come on, man!
louder.
I only got one voice."
Yeah, not like this, and like, yeah, and they talk about this in the episode that people are about to hear that it's more fun to be a character than to be yourself. Right now in the industry, if you go to any of these training sessions and stuff, they'll tell you that they're looking for people that sound like the person next door, like as normal as possible for commercial work. Every day, yeah. Guy or girl. Yeah. And like but everyone wants to play those wacky, like, cartoony characters and stuff because it's a lot of fun.
But so you're in a small room that's got the foam on the walls to absorb the sound.
Yes, it depends.
Yeah,
sometimes
not always small room.
Technicolor was a really nice studio. I remember we did some work there.
Yeah, that room you could get a couple people in there.
Yeah, you could probably have five or six people. Sometimes it's not.
But glass. So you're in a sound isolated room. Glass engineer on our side, on the producer side.
Yeah.
And that's where the snacks usually are on our side.
Exactly. And you can't hear nothing. So when you're in that room, it's really, really quiet. And it's hot sometimes. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's super awesome. It's like getting on a roller coaster.
Your adrenaline goes. You get your adrenaline going. Okay.
Yeah. And then you have to say, here's the thing that's really awesome about it is when you're doing the work, it doesn't feel like work at first. It's kind of like testing. Whenever you're testing the game, you're playing the same level over and over again. There is a part where you have to it gets challenging because you're saying, no, get to the debaculator by 4:00. And they're like, can you read it a little slower? No, get to the debaculator by 4:00. I don't know what a debaculator is. It's something that reduces debacles. Anyways, or increases debacles.
Sounds like it creates a debacle. Yeah.
But that's the point. It's like you have to do it so many times that sometimes it gets like, you say you can't change it anymore. So it's challenging.
When was the last time you were? When was the last time you were in a recording session? Was that
yesterday morning, dude?
Yesterday morning?
Yeah. Did you hear the stuff?
Oh, that's right. That's right.
That's right. Yeah, when they were.
That's right. Yeah.
So I don't know.
Okay, that's top secret, by the way, listeners. Top secret. Top
Yeah.
secret. But you were a voice of Sarge, right, in Midnight Star?
Sarge, yeah. Sarge and the Renfields and the Dust. And I've done work for... I was just telling Jay this recently. We were talking about... Remember Chris Cobb's company and Matt Carter? So they're...
These two friends of ours that worked with us at Wide Load. Yeah, they had their own studio.
Load, yeah. Yeah, they did a game called... It was a successor to... a spiritual successor.
Spiritual successor to Stubbs. That's right. And it was called... Do you remember what it was called?
It was called
Did it come out?
Raise the Dead.
Did it come out?
Yeah, it came out.
Raise, RAY''S, Raise the... Very clever.
Yes.
And it came out on Steam?
Yeah, it's out on everything now, I think.
Yeah, okay.
And
so you did some voices for that?
Yeah, they called me up and they're like, hey, would you do some stuff? Or I think I begged them. I can't remember how it went. But you know how they paid me? They gave me a PS4, dude. It was awesome.
What?
It's like, yeah, that was my payment. Yeah, and I
Did
had
you report
a little
that
studio.
on your taxes?
No, I don't think. I didn't know you had to.
Don't say that, bro. Don't say that.
Of course I did, dude.
You gave it back though, so you didn't report it because you had to give it back.
I don't have any more.
It was
Actually,
it was borrowed.
I sold it to Prashant.
Now you're roping our buddy Prashant into this mess.
Yeah, we're all going. No, I don't remember what happened.
No, don't rope me. Okay.
No, you're making me lie. Anyways, so yeah, have you done any VO? And what about you? You've been in like Marathon.
Yeah, I've been in the booth. You know, most of the voices from Marathon was Doug,
our community manager.
Yeah,
the Fourth Curtain community manager. Hey, Doug.
Yeah. Hey, we should mention that we have he
just joined us.
Another team member, Doug Zartman, actually employee number one at Bungie, who ran. Back then we didn't really have community. We had PR, but now Doug is running community for us.
And VO, obviously he was VO too.
Yeah, that's right. I can't remember what
Myth. You had to have done something. Did you do anything in Halo? Were you a soldier in Halo?
Let's say yes. That'll make me feel better.
Yeah, right.
We'll have to ask Marty. It's yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
so
you don't remember it? You're
so old.
Dude, I was in Aliens. I've done so many voices. Because here's the thing, people... Okay, so Jen and Steve are professional voice actors. So they wake up in the morning.
Yeah. And that's a good thing to point out. The pros are amazing.
Yeah. They're like
just so
next level.
So good.
Yeah, like I'm a hobbyist.
I mean, I can basically, do like a couple words and maybe die, that's extent of my range, but like Jen and Steve are freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Freaking amazing.
I'm a hobbyist. But yeah, so that's something that people should know is if you work at a game studio, odds are you're going to get a knock one day in whatever like department you're in, and the sound engineer or the game designer or someone's going to be like, hey, does anybody want to be like an enemy in the game? Raise your hand or something. We'll give you free pizza. Like they'll even offer you.
Yeah. And if that's the thing you want to do, just get chummy with the sound guy.
Yeah.
And be like, hey, if you ever need any extras, just let me know.
And they'll be like, yeah, totally, yeah. And sometimes there's like weird rules with the your favorite thing. What is it called? The unions. And we talked about unions in a previous episode, but there's unions and stuff.
We talk about it in this episode too. In fact, after we're done with the interview, I think we should come back around to that topic because it's very timely.
Actually, why don't we roll it? That's a good point. Before I start
that's a great idea. All right, everybody. Good segue, Aaron. Enjoy our conversation with Jen Taylor and Steve Downs, the voices of Cortana and Master Chief. Hope you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Okay, we are lucky to have two very special guests here with us today. Jen Taylor, voice of Halo's Cortana, and Steve Downs, voice of Master Chief himself. Both of them, they are, I believe this is right, they are the two longest-running contributors to the Halo franchise. That's pretty
I
amazing.
think that's right.
You're not, Alex.
No, not me. If you played any Halo game, you're familiar with their work. They both have impressive careers outside of the universe of Halo. Steve with a long career in radio, and Jen also giving voice to Princess Peach, and also Cortana's namesake AI built into Microsoft Windows. That's got to be a trip. Guys, it's been way too long. Great to see you two. Thank you so much for being here.
Alex, thanks for having us.
Our pleasure. Yeah.
So, actually, Jen, I really want to ask you, what was it like to do the AI? How did that happen? Did somebody call you up? Did Bill Gates call you up or Ballmer?
No,
hey, can you do this?
No. Actually, you know what it was? I don't know. Frankly, I don't know how it happened. I was talking to a friend who works for Microsoft, and he knew somebody working on the project, and he was like, this was a long time ago. He said, their pet name for it is Cortana. And I said, oh, that's funny. And we were having dinner, and all of a sudden he looked at me and he said, wouldn't that be rad if you actually did it? And I was like, oh, yeah. And he said, has anybody asked you? And I said, no, but I don't know if people were going to ask me, but apparently he then went to his boss and said, I'm friends with Jen Taylor and nobody's asked her, and wouldn't that be cool? So I don't know how it all got started. It may have been from the beginning, but I don't think so. I don't know. I have no idea how that happened. It's totally different than voicing a video game, right? It's completely different. I'm just, I had so much to record for that. I was
gonna say, not anymore, so I didn't interrupt you. Like now the AI can just match it, right? Yeah,
all done. I'm not doing that anymore.
And Steve wouldn't have to record either. Like they could just take some Master Chief lines and
easy on that, Aaron. Take it easy, all right? We're just getting started here.
I know. The podcast just throwing them.
And done.
Yeah.
We're done.
Yes. We talk about AI quite a bit. It's fascinating and also quite terrifying.
Very terrifying.
Yeah. How did you, both of you? I'd love to hear sort of the origins of how you got into voice acting.
Well, for me, I was a disc jockey, as I think you mentioned, for a long time, and it was really just an outgrowth of that work. I fell in love actually with the production side of radio, and I had a show. I was on air and everything, but I really enjoyed the production part of it. And back in the those days, the radio stations would produce their own commercials for their clients and all that. And I really got into it and enjoyed it. And I actually enjoyed the production angle more than the voicing part of it. But since I was making the commercials, I was the only one around to voice them. So I just did, and that was really sort of the very, very beginnings of my voiceover career. And then when I moved to L.A. And got an agent, a proper voiceover agent, and really sort of took to it in earnest, and just fell in love with the whole business and went from there.
How did you get into being a radio DJ though? Like, where did it start? Somebody said, "Hey, you've got a voice."
Well, it brings two things to mind. One is the importance of teachers. And the reason why I say that is what got me into radio was music. I loved rock and roll. I played in bands since the time I was 13 years old and all the way into college and all that. And at some point, the band was getting to the place where we were either going to take this seriously and do it full time and quit school or not. And I had a moment of clarity and decided that being a drummer in a rock band was probably not the best career move one could make, and didn't. And so then the performing part of it just became a hobby. But I wanted to do something that had something to do with music, and the next best thing seemed to be production, going back to music producing, and so I thought radio was the closest thing I could get to that. And I remember taking my very first radio class, Radio 101, and part of that class was you had to produce a mock 15-minute radio show, and with all the commercials and read the news and play the records and all that. And I did it, And the the professor's listening back to it, and he says to me, you might be good at this. So for a 19-year-old kid to hear that you might be good at something other than fucking up, I decided that became my career at that point in time. And seriously, I mean, I just it's so teachers may or may not realize how important they can be to their students. And I had the opportunity many, many, many years later to relay that story to him. Actually, not to him, but to his sister, who relayed it to him, so that he knew that at least there was one person that was influenced in a very favorable way to make a career out of just that simple little remark.
That's marvelous.
Master Chief says thanks.
Yeah, it's amazing how encouragement like that can be so impactful.
Yeah.
So when you said you were like producing the spots,
right.
Not just voice acting them, but were you actually writing them too? Like,
oh yeah, many times the salesman would come in and he'd hand you the copy for the local record store or the head shop, as they were back then, and give you some copy points, and you'd write the copy, produce it. Wow. Cut the tape, do the editing, and voice it. And by the way, you had to have it done in 15 minutes because it was going on the air, for afternoon drive. But I just love the whole thing about it, the whole process of it, and just
that's super cool.
Stuck with it.
Was that in Was that in L.A. and then Chicago?
No, I started actually. Well, I started at the College Station in Dayton, Ohio, at the University of Dayton, and then went to Athens, Ohio, which is about as big as this studio. In fact, the station that I worked at, and I'm not kidding, our slogan was, "We're the only radio station in town." Because we were the only radio station in town. If you were listening to the radio, you were listening to us.
It's funny they said only and not best.
Yeah,
That could have been both.
Hey, Alex, we didn't need to be the best.
That's right.
All we had to do was have the lights on, And then I went to Pittsburgh, and the Pittsburgh time was when I really started falling in love with radio production. And then from Pittsburgh to L.A. and L.A. to Chicago.
Okay, all right. Well, let's get your story up until you meet Marty O'Donnell. And then, Jen, we get your story up until you... Because that must be where you two converge, right? Is that Marty?
Quite a ways into it, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's where Jen and I
Marty did
converged on Halo.
Us. Yeah.
But we didn't meet for years before that or after that. But I was doing a radio show in Chicago at The Loop in Chicago. And
the Loop
Marty
FM?
used to listen to... Yeah.
I used to listen to Loop FM. Yeah. Was it 98.7?
Sure.
98.7 Loop, is that right?
97.9.
97.9.
The Loop.
Yes.
Is that the one where
I still got it? I still got it.
Steve is so understated about this, but I said this the last time I was hanging out with him, is that Steve is a very, very celebrated radio DJ. Oh, wow. Like, huge radio DJ star. I have friends who have met him from LA and were just gobsmacked, not because of Master Chief, but because of his radio work. Because they didn't know Master Chief. They just were like, oh my God.
I listen to you every day.
Yeah.
Is that the station that has there's a station in the Loop that you could see inside from the street? Actually, I think there's two.
Well, not maybe now. The Loop is not. It's actually a Christian station at this point. I mean, they've completely. They're just a completely 100%. No, you're thinking of WGN, right on the corner of
Michigan Avenue. Yeah,
okay.
That's the studio you can see from Michigan Avenue. But anyway, I was on the air, and Marty used to listen to me and on the radio, and he got in touch with my agent, and he actually contacted me about a game called Septerra Core.
Oh, yeah. Sorry,
I heard you guys mention this. Yeah. I heard you mention this.
In the Marty episode, and I was like, what?
Yeah, in the Marty episode.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Septerra Core.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the infamous. And anyway, so I had a role in that, and then I guess it was a year later, maybe something like that. He got back in touch about Halo and Master Chief, and off we went. Life changing.
Wow, very cool. All right, So we've followed Steve up to his Marty years.
Yeah, I'm not sure where I'm supposed to start.
I don't know. Where at the beginning? How did you get into this craft?
Born and raised in Seattle, Washington. I was always a ham. I remember my mom saw me perform in a play. Like, I found a theater company that was doing theater for kids when I was 12 or 13, something like that. And I auditioned for it. And my mother said she sat in the audience thinking, oh God, she's not just a ham. She's actually pretty talented. Oh no.
Oh, now what am I going to do?
Oh no. So I was always writing, always doing puppet shows and like making videos as a kid of whatever I could find, putting on little plays for my parents, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I ended up going to college to study theater at Northwestern University.
Right on.
And,
Chicago.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Chicago again.
And then I went home back to Seattle because I traveled around Europe for a while and ran out of money. And so I went back and moved in with my parents. And I started working in Seattle as an actor and as a theater actor. And just needed a way at the time. I just needed a way to make money. And I actually was also a radio DJ. Stumbled into that. Yeah. At the end, 107.7 the end. And I started doing voiceover. A friend had said, I think you'd be, interestingly enough, mine was a friend, my best friend said, I think this is something you'd be really good at. And I said, I'm not sure I understand what voiceover means. And she said, well, like The Simpsons. And I said, yeah. And she said, well, it's like that, but expand it. I thought, okay. So animation, that made sense to me. Like that was something, anyway, so I started doing radio commercials and went from there, and I got an audition to play this role for Halo, and I just auditioned. It was simple as that.
Wow.
And
wait,
however,
this is the first one?
The first one.
Wow.
Yeah.
This was
Joe
your first
Staten.
professional voice acting
No.
gig?
No.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Sorry,
Okay.
no.
I was like, whoa, you're going up to bat? Home run.
No.
Grand slam.
No.
Boom! Out of here.
No, let's see. I'd been doing Princess Peach and Toad by that point.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
I had done a few other video games, but I think I had played, I had done it. I was in No One Lives. No, not what's it called? The one where I played Kate Archer.
Oh.
I can't remember the name of the video game. That's terrible. Anyway, I'd done a few. I'd done a few video games, and I'd done a lot of radio commercials, and then I stumbled into this audition. Okay. And Joe Staten, I went to college with Joe Staten.
I was going to ask because I know Joe went to Northwestern. And he was also a theater major, I believe. Is that right?
We lived in the same dorm for a while.
Oh my gosh! Really?
I
never heard that part of the story.
Yeah, we were not friends. I mean, we're not close friends. We knew each other, but we were not close friends. So it was more of a, hi.
Did you think maybe he was a little dramatic?
Alex, no.
I've been trying to get him on this show for like 3 months. He keeps ghosting me. Could you text him for me?
I'm having coffee with
I wonder why.
Tell him I said hey. Right. Tell him you were just on the show, how great it was.
He's going to hear this part. Really?
Yeah,
oh, no, he's going to hear it. Yeah, that's right. Well, that's amazing. That's awesome. I love Joe.
By the way, it was No One Lives Forever.
Thank you. Yeah, No One Lives Forever 2.
Somebody was quick on Google.
Yeah, I had it up here. That is a phenomenal game, by the way. Yeah. I worked on that engine.
Yeah, I don't remember that. Was that Monolith? Did
Monolith
make that
I worked
game?
on the Lith Tech. Yeah, Lith Tech was a pretty interesting engine. On Fear.
Yeah, right on.
But we didn't, Steve and I didn't meet till 10 years in.
What? Is that really true? You guys are just like
2011.
Go ships in the night, passing.
At a 7-Eleven.
No, in 2011. We were not.
Oh, I thought you said we met at a 7-Eleven.
Because I wanted to hear the 7-Eleven story. Yeah.
So wait, did y'all record together, or did y'all record classic style?
We never recorded together up until Halo 4.
Yeah, it's because we couldn't afford 2 sound booths, There's only 1 microphone in there.
In fairness, it really didn't make much sense. There was really no need for it, given the way the characters were
The
up until
dialogue.
Halo 4. Yeah. I was. I mean,
You know what? You
how
didn't
I-
have to tell me this because I didn't know. In my mind, y'all were together because you talk
Hanging
to
out.
each other. You're like, hey, like he's like, okay. There is back and forth.
Well, most of it though, let's be real. Most of it is back and forth because I am talking and 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 talking, and then Steve says,
Cortana.
so,
That's awesome.
But that's really hard because you got to put all of the character in that one word. That's impressive.
Yeah.
right.
It was
Got
a
the
heavy lift.
lifting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so Jen and I met on the 10th anniversary of Combat Evolved. Was it what convention was it? What's
We
the
were in
big one in
Sheraton.
Seattle?
I don't know. Was it the Emerald City Comic Con?
I think it was. They were.
Was there
sort of
like a
tacked
nice
on to Emerald
event,
City.
like a 10th anniversary event or something?
It was a 10th anniversry event, and they.
Yeah, that's
they-
funny. I didn't get an
they
invite to
flew-
that. Nobody invited me.
Oh, you want to talk about? Here's a story that I don't think I've ever told. For the first for all of the games at Bungie, you guys would have like release parties, right? And I was always invited, but I could never get it. Like I would show up at the front gate and be like, "Hi, I'm Jen Taylor. I'm here for the party," and they'd go, "Sorry, you're not on the list." I was never on the list.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh no!
And it was always some random lovely person who walked by and went, "Oh God, no, she's on the list. She's on the list." Bring her
Okay.
in."
That's kind of impressive to be able to
Saved by the bell.
to not be on the list but get in anyways. That's kind of
True
impressive. That's a little impressive.
Good point. Good point. Yeah.
I crashed all those parties, man.
Good.
Anyway, sorry. I felt like I interrupted you, Steve. You were
I
talking
interrupted
about
Steve, too.
2011.
Oh, Steve was
No,
telling us a
I
story.
was just gonna. Yeah, we met at this, and I clearly remember it. Steve, this is Jen Taylor, and Jen gave me the biggest bear hug you could imagine. And she's never didn't know. I mean, she knew who I was, but gave me a big bear hug and said, "Finally, somebody who gets it." And I thought it was so interesting because we had been on this journey for 10 years at that point separately, but had no one to really sort of share the experience of what it was like.
Yeah.
And until we met, and I'll never forget that greeting.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I sort of tackled you.
Shortly thereafter, we started work on Halo 4, and that's when we did record together and were in the same room at the same time and did our lines together.
That one had more dialogue than the first three, right?
Yeah. It was, and it was a more emotional story. It was a little more, the relationship between Cortana and Master Chief was a little more involved.
Yeah.
And to their credit, the writers and the directors thought it would help if we could actually be working together, and it helped tremendously.
It was supposed to be the last one. And I guess it did well enough that they've made way more.
Was Halo 4 supposed to be the last one?
Wasn't it, Alex? Yeah.
They always say that. This is going to be the last one. And hey, wait, we should do another one.
Right.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
We should
Oh,
stop
that
making.
Well,
works
Alex-
pretty well.
Actually, Alex, you can confirm or deny a story that Marty told, and I don't know if he
Well,
was
if Marty
referring
told you a
to-
story, it's
Yeah, it's
probably
probably
a
not
story.
true, man.
Let's just be honest.
Okay, probably not true. Okay, all right. So we can set the record straight. And I don't know if he was referring to you or not, but he said that
I think it was Jason, but
it was Jason who said he never wanted to do a sequel. When you made Combat Evolved, that was it. There was no plan on doing a sequel until Microsoft, said, guys, let's make a sequel. Because this one's going pretty good. Is that true, or as you remember it?
Yes, there was a lot of conversation around what Halo 2, should there be a Halo 2 and what should it be? And, we had shipped the first one for the release of the first console. So there was a lot of it's not a compromise, but there was pain involved. Like any project that's got a hard deadline that's very ambitious and big. We combined a bunch of teams together. We canceled some projects to make it happen, et cetera, et cetera. We didn't know how it was really going to go. Like when we went to E3, I don't know if you remember E3. It's no longer, but like the big convention, and it was literally like 4 or 5 months before release. It did not go well. I mean, the game was not in a great state, and that was like, customers and buyers were at that event and like, meh, and so that whole experience, it had a great outcome, but like it was, it's a big effort and a lot of energy to, it's hard to work at that pace, over and over again. Yeah. So when the idea of a sequel came around, Halo 2 came around, and thinking about, well, we want to do it for the next console release, and it's at this date, and we're going to have this much time to do it, that the reaction to starting with a deadline was not a super positive one. And then thinking about like, how much should we stretch what's going to be in this like how is it going to be creative driven, or is it going to be just an incremental? There's a lot of different opinions around the table. So yes, there wasn't really a desire to kind of rush into doing a second one, and not necessarily doing it on its own terms, but doing, but it's hard to argue with the business that was being created around the game. It was insane. It was insane.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Do you guys ever do you feel that from players? Like, have you been to Comic-Con and do you get recognized, or are you in the game community much, that kind of thing?
We go to a lot of conventions. Let's put it that way.
You go to a lot of conventions. I go to a few conventions.
Jen's more selective, but and she actually has other work. Me, not so much. But to your point, you get to see how important Halo has been to so many people for so long. It's really incredible. And I mean, when I say important, I mean, and Jen can back me up on this, we've had people, grown men and women, break down in tears describing their relationship with this game and how it saved them from, a horrible childhood, or it was the only thing that they could connect to their mom or dad with, or just all these very emotional, important stories. And I often say, I love hearing them, but I wish that you could hear more of these, because, were it not for you, there would not be a Halo. And, to know the impact that the game has had on a very visceral level among a lot of people is really, it's very special.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people feel, it's been around for so long that it also, even if they're currently actively playing Halo Infinite or whatever of the games they're playing, they still harken back to earlier ones because there's a sense of nostalgia about it. It's when they met their best friend. It's when they met their wife online. It's when they, as Steve was saying, it's the game that they played with their dad before their dad passed. I mean, it's just a way for people to connect with each other, right? And side-by-side gameplay. And so there's that cool bonding that you're able to do in a way where you're actively participating in something together, right? And so we do hear a lot of that. People have connected to us in that way, saying, thank you so much for these characters. We love them. And this game has really affected my life. So we do get to hear that. Yeah.
That's good. That's awesome. I have more of the experience where I will be interviewing somebody for a job, programmer, and they'll say to me, "Hey, I was a big Halo fan. I played Halo when I was 5."
Yeah. It makes your back hurt, doesn't it? You're like, oh my God, my face just melted off.
Yeah.
You know what happens to me? You know what happens to me? It's like, oh, you know the guy that made Halo? It's like, yeah, he smells just like you and me, man. It's cool.
Yeah, but I love it when they say, "Yeah, I started playing Halo when I was 5," and I'm like,
That's great.
5?
Yeah.
Did you have any parents?
You had to let you play the game at 5. That's
Really? 5? Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll say I have had some of my most memorable, and I'll say hard to contain the laughter moments have been in at a VO session, because you guys get up to some funny stuff sometimes, and I don't know if you all are guilty of that. Guilty, that's the wrong word. But if you had any, like, and I asked this question only because it's been a highlight of some of my professional highlights include things like that, include things like getting to go to mocap shoots and stuff like that. And I'm just curious if you have any fun stories from inside the recording booth.
I mean, I feel like in every session that well, not every session, but in every game that I have done, there's been a moment when I've just broken down. Like, I obviously can't say this sentence. Like, I can't say this sentence without losing it. So I'm not sure how we're going to proceed. We have to move forward. Whether it sounds like a euphemism or something, you know what I mean? Like, betcha can't stick it or whatever it is.
Yeah.
There's always one, I feel like, in every game where you're like, okay, I'm sorry,
yeah.
we gotta
really,
we gotta go forward. Come back and get this when my brain has cleaned up a little bit or whatever. So I'm not sure about anything specific.
The only one I remember is doing Halo 3, which we did think. I mean, I certainly thought that was it. With Halo, talking about doing what you thought was the last game. I thought Halo 3 was it, but that's the game where 343 Guilty Spark gets killed.
Oh, right, it was 3. You're right. Sorry, cut you off. Not 4.
And he, so I knew.
Was that Tim Dodabo?
That was Tim Dodabo.
Okay.
Who's
Tim
is
I think Tim is probably very guilty of, really
No
getting
pun.
into. Yes.
No pun. Sorry.
Oh, I did a pun. That was totally unintentional.
That's why she said sparking.
Sorry, Steve.
So he's guilty of what?
He's guilty of lots of things. Getting blue.
Yes, he is. Oh God, yes. but anyway, so I knew Tim and still know him, and although he wasn't in the room, I was taking probably more delight than I should have been as a voice actor in killing him. So I'm sort of relishing that scene, and then Marty, in one of his rare moments, says, we do it a few times, and he says, well, let's kind of riff on it and see where it goes, to ad lib. And I hearken back to the very first direction Marty ever gave me on Master Chief was he said he's like Clint Eastwood. He said, think of Clint Eastwood when Clint did the spaghetti westerns and all that. He's a guy who didn't say very much, but when he did, somebody usually got killed. So that's sort of where I launched my, Master Chief, persona. So I hearken back to that at the moment when I'm killing Guilty Spark, and to take the infamous scene from Dirty Harry, where he's in the coffee shop or whatever, and he's battling it out with that guy, and there's a big shootout, and finally Clint draws a bead on the crook, and he says, well, in all the excitement, I lost track. Was that 5 bullets or 6? Well, you feeling lucky, punk? So I did basically a version of that as I'm, going to end Guilty Spark. And Marty's like, yeah, okay, that's great. All right, anyway. Never saw the light of day. Yeah, and scene, yeah.
Who are some of your favorite other voiceover actors to work with?
We don't get to work with many voiceover actors. I mean, you don't get to actually work with them in studio unless you're doing, in my experience, performance capture. And then you're doing scenes together. But you don't, it's so funny. I've worked with so many people in the Seattle area, in the beginning of my career on so many video games, and I had no idea. Like, oh, were you in that too? Oh, great, we had a relationship.
We talked,
yeah. We talked to each other? No idea. No idea.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many marvelous voiceover actors that I would love to get to play with, but I don't. You do that in your own space generally. Again, unless you're doing performance capture.
Well, my favorite voice actor, other than my wife, is the woman who's with us right now. There's times that Jen, I mean, this whole trip has been so bizarre in many ways, but one of the great benefits of it has been, I've made a very good friend with Jen Taylor, and we're very good friends, and we get to see each other, on a fairly, semi-regular basis. And I loved working with her. I mean, when we did Halo 4, it was just such a rewarding and it was a rewarding experience for me. Beyond that, I have heroes, not people that I've necessarily worked with, but heroes, voiceover heroes. And my original voiceover hero was Don LaFontaine, the guy who created the movie trailer, right?
Oh, yeah.
He literally created the genre. In a world. I wanted to be Don LaFontaine. He was my guy. Exactly. That's the guy.
If you guys didn't know, Aaron really wants to be a voice actor.
Actually, I think I have spit on the same thing as the same microphone as y'all, which is
fantastic.
The
before or after?
Probably after. What was it? What was it that closed down Technicolor? Y'all did Technicolor in LA?
Yeah, for Halo 5, Halo Guardians.
Yeah, they had Halo
we
posters
did some
up.
Sessions.
Yeah. At Technicolor.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So that was your spit on
no. It's the coolest thing in the world. People that haven't done it have no idea how cool it is.
It is kind of fun.
It's the coolest thing in the universe. Yeah, I love it.
So Don LaFontaine was your man.
And Don LaFontaine and Keith David, who is the voice of the Arbiter in Halo, and many other things, is also a guy who I just thought, as an actor and as a voice actor, is just a tremendous talent, and I really admire his work.
You guys did a convention together, didn't you? And you just kind of geeked out all over him. And...
I was total fanboy on Keith David.
I don't think of him as a voice actor. That's what's so strange. I think of him as but he is a voice actor, a screen actor.
Yeah. But he does great work. He does great narration stuff.
He does,
and of course he was tremendous as the Arbiter. We did a convention together years ago, and I was a total geek. I was like, "Oh my God, you're Keith David!"
Do y'all sit together when y'all do the conventions, or do y'all have like separate areas?
We did that time, and Jen and I are always together, but Keith and I, work together. It worked, we're at the convention.
He was your like arch nemesis in the.
He was, yes. And then
the arch nemesis upon whom you had a large crush.
Yeah.
A large crush. And then we found a strange alliance.
Yeah. Are there any characters that you would want to do?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Like that you haven't done?
That's a really good question.
Yeah, and I never have a good answer for that.
Optimus Prime? Sorry.
Actually, that's our listener question. That comes from our Discord. That comes from, I'll tell you the name of the user on Discord. The user's name is Bruh Moment. I don't know what that means.
Okay.
But Bruh Moment wants to know.
That's a really good question, though.
Any characters from media that you would seek the role?
Oh, I want to be on The Simpsons. I mean, I think everybody does, don't they? I like to play little kids. That's actually what I started doing. The first few games that I did was I played little kids in the Backyard Baseball series. I don't know if you've ever heard Backyard Sports series.
Yeah.
I played at home to little kids.
And the character you played in the Backyard Baseball?
Well, I played a lot, but the main one was, "This is Sunny Day. Welcome to Backyard Baseball." That was the character.
Can you do Bart?
I really like playing kid. I don't know if I...
She could do Bart.
If I had a little time, and I...
Yeah.
But I think so much of voiceover, right, is about imitating, right? It's about figuring out how you can, when you start out, it's about figuring out how you can imitate people, different characters, and then figuring out how to do that. And in so doing, you figure out how to use your voice, how to morph your voice in different ways, right? And then you create your own. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure who I would want to play, who's existing that I would want to play. I don't really think about it that way. I think more of like types of characters as opposed to
that makes sense.
Who presently.
We heard Steve. Steve, I loved your story about Clint Eastwood as your model for Chief. Did you have, Jen? Did you have an inspirational model for Cortana?
Pamela Anderson.
Really?
I'm kidding. No, I had no. I'm sorry. No disrespect to Pamela.
Record scratch.
No disrespect to Pamela Anderson either. It was the first name.
But my mind was trying to connect the two. It's like,
you're like,
they don't.
Wait,
the math doesn't add up.
Pam
Jen.
Anderson?
Baywatch? No, no. They'd shown me a picture of of what they thought they were gonna sort of make it look like, which was a very sort of. I mean, she didn't really. She looked vaguely like a human, but the light was moving so much that you couldn't really see. She had a vague outline of a woman, and it was sort of a boyish, really, if you will, outline at the time that they had shown me. So, no, I didn't base it on anybody in particular. They were very clear with me that they wanted her to be like the cool girl next door who is there to help. Even though I have to push Master Chief to do things, that she never becomes annoying. They never wanted me to become annoying. Who knows? That probably did happen many places. Some of the fans are going, "Oh, too bad you failed there again." But yeah, that wasn't the word I wanted. Yes, but yeah, they were like, we want them to always be happy to hear you.
Yeah.
That was, But no, I didn't base it on a particular.
Do you prefer doing your own voice, or do you prefer doing with some subtle characterization to it, or do you prefer doing the backyard baseball thing?
I prefer doing something that's crazy.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like me.
Okay, yeah.
That's fun.
What about you, Steve?
Well, when it comes to video games, it's sort of like I got really lucky, and when you're voicing Master Chief, it's I mean, who else are you going to, want to voice beyond that? You know what I mean? At least that's the way I felt. My things that I like to do, voiceover-wise, really don't have anything to do with video games. They're more commercial related. And when you get a script for something that's challenging and looks like it could be fun and it's meaty and have something you can sink your teeth into, that I enjoy doing a lot. Usually don't book it, but I enjoy the process of it. Yeah.
And the lucky person who gets to do that is not me.
It's not me. Yeah. The lucky person who got paid for doing that. Yeah.
Well, speaking of which, what do you guys got cooking now? What are you working on?
I'm about to do ADR for the TV show, the Halo TV show. I mean, I've got a whole bunch of work there because we wrapped a couple weeks ago. We wrapped the second season, so now I've got to start working on that. And I'm always auditioning for things, but that's the main thing I'm working on in the next probably month or so.
And you got to go to some pretty cool places doing it too.
I did. I got to travel to some fun places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We shoot in Budapest. We shoot right outside of Budapest. So
pulling teeth.
Yeah, Budapest.
Yeah. And while I was there, I had some time off, and so I went to London, and I visited a friend in Finland, and we went to Slovenia, and so we got to go to some cool places.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Sounds very continental.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I what I'm doing. Well, I had a session. I do a lot of commercials, and so does my wife. We both do a lot of commercials for political ads.
Political campaigns.
Yeah.
Vote for this
somebody's
guy,
gotta
not
do
the
it.
other guy.
Yeah. Well, no. What they usually are, Aaron, is don't vote for that guy.
Please do them as Master Chief. That would make me so happy.
Well, what happens is I'll go into a session and we'll be doing some, political ad of one sort or another. And then when the session's all done, then it's like, hey, before you go, could you say hello to my cousin?
Son. Yeah.
And in that Master Chief voice.
Happy birthday or something. That's awesome.
Happy birthday. You get that a lot. But anyway, yeah, for better or for worse, like I said, we both do a lot of that kind of stuff lately. I don't know why we got picked, but we do.
Awesome.
We only go for one side. I won't tell you which, but we only.
Well, you're in Florida, right?
Yeah, so we don't do those.
Florida. He's in Florida, Chicago. Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like
Florida,
subconscious.
Chicago.
It's like people are sitting there like, you know what? I am gonna vote for that guy because it's like it's like reaching into like the halo. Like I always they don't even know
because Master Chief told me to.
Exactly.
No.
But yeah, I mean, doing a lot of and doing auditions and generally goofing off. I mean, it's a pretty nice life, I have to tell you.
Right on.
Thanks to you, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I was maybe happy to have played the small role that I played. You guys did all the heavy lifting.
No, really, he means it. Like he sits in his room and he counts his money and laughs. Yeah. Those fools!
Rubbing your hands together.
I'm just playing, Alex. Don't get mad.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Halo 2.
Yeah. Are they still alive? Send them in for another one. All right. Sorry. Go ahead, Alex.
I don't know why I thought this was funny, but I asked Siri what she thought of Cortana. Have you ever done
What
that?
did she say?
Yeah, what did she say, Alex? I don't know.
She said, I quote, "I'm a big fan of good listeners and helpful beings." I thought that was pretty gracious. That was...
Yeah.
I have to say, I think Microsoft gets to take credit for this, though people might be upset when I say that. When we started doing Cortana, they wanted her to be fun and silly and kind of irreverent, right? And Siri was not like that at all at the time. And she became more and more. And so now I feel like I will ask Siri some questions and Siri's a little smartass. And I'm like, you're welcome, Siri. You're welcome.
There you go.
Gave you that. But I think I think this sort of, they all kind of, I think all of the AIs kind of slid like, oh, that's appreciated. Okay, let's do a little more. Let's be a little more wry as opposed to just answering your question straight out.
Right.
So give her some personality.
Yeah, I gotta say, I prefer both of those to Alexa. I don't know if you have an Alexa, but every once in a while, Alexa will basically just ask me if I want to buy something, like literally.
Really? No, I don't have any of that stuff.
Like just randomly.
Yeah, it should be like, oh, it's 80 degrees. Do you want to buy some sunscreen? Just say yes, and I'll send it to you. And I'm like, no.
Wow. Really?
Leave me alone.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wish it was something totally random, like, hey, it's 80 degrees. Do you need some bananas or hairpins?
Yeah.
But they're paying closer attention than that, aren't they? They know what you need, Alex. They know what you need.
It's scary. They're trying to be smart.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
I was going to ask, would y'all sell your voices for... I just saw an article this morning of an actress that sold her voice as an AI girlfriend or something. And that girl, I don't know if it's a relationship, but, like a friend that you can have that's an AI.
I think I already did that, Aaron.
Oh okay. Yeah, Cortana. Yeah. Well, I mean, specifically,
Cortana.
It's like a... but that's a helper. I mean, more like...
Right.
Action.
Hey, let's hang out.
Yeah, let's hang out, Master Chief. I'm like, hey, Aaron, what's going on? Like that kind of thing. Yeah. Is that a thing? Has anyone approached y'all about that?
Oh, it's a definite thing. In fact, I heard
Microsoft would have to okay that one, though, I would imagine.
Yeah, but that's part of the question, because I heard recently a guy, and it's harmless. I'm trying to remember the name of the website. It's not coming to me, but he has a series of talks, if you will, of Master Chief giving advice on relationships, how to apply for a job.
What?
And some of one of them's very serious about.
And it's AI.
That's amazing.
It's AI, and it sounds pretty damn close.
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh, you were listening to this, right? Yeah.
And it when I first heard it, the first thing I thought of was, did I do this?
Did I get paid for this? Did I?
Yeah.
Yeah,
For this.
yeah, exactly. And so it's not exact, but to the casual listener, you would not know the difference. And so, and I've had many discussions as of late with my agent because it is a thing, and they assure me that I'm covered, that the union has my back and all that stuff. And I hope that that's all true because we are rapidly going in that direction where, any four of us right now, our voices will be duplicated, and they'll get it in a very short period of time to where nobody, not even you, can tell the difference, and that's scary. And it's coming.
We may be becoming obsolete for sure.
Yeah. It's happening on the 2D side too. Art. Same thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Alex is a great artist now. Phenomenal. He'll send me pictures. He's like, "What do you think of this?" And I'm like, "Dude, that's amazing, dude. How did you do it?" Yeah.
Just for ideation.
There was a hearing yesterday with the one of those guys from the Chat GPT.
Yeah.
Before the Senate. And they started the proceedings with Senator Blumenthal giving a little talk about what the meeting was going to be about and the hearing and yada yada yada. And then Blumenthal comes out from behind the curtain to tell you that was not him, and he never said those words. And and that's the thing. And Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, but with what you actually had to go in and record words for them to make the Cortana helper, not the game, but
right, the AI,
My guess is now that would not be necessary.
Yeah.
They could take a voice sample of you from the game or from anything, and probably do all the things that you spent hours doing.
Probably.
Probably pretty scary. Yeah.
Yeah, it's heading that direction.
One you get paid for, and one you don't.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the issue. I think that we all, as an industry, need to think about.
Well, that's what the writer's strike is about. Part of it now, right?
Wait, what's the writer's strike about? Is it about the ChatGPT?
Well, there are many things, but one of them is they want to fill the rooms with what they want to basically use Chat GPT and then have one writer come in and fix it up.
Oh, it's like the grocery store where you're checking out yourself now. There's no cashiers, and it's just
right. But if you want to buy alcohol, there's somebody there to check your ID, right? So there's one writer who's in the room going, well, okay, I guess I'll clean this up. That doesn't make any sense. Why but that's what companies want to do, right? And the writers are going, no. We want a room full of writers because so that's one of the things they're arguing about.
And what's interesting is all that AI pulls from all the work that all of writers have created or
have already
humans,
done.
Right. So it is going to, its originality has like a ceiling,
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Like there is an originality creative ceiling where it cannot pass because it's not creative.
Yeah, so I think maybe we're safe for at least a little bit until they
Alex is like, we got a little more time
until they kill us
maybe
all.
yeah, for the next couple months at least. I think we're good.
I give it a couple months.
On that note, if you will entertain, we're going to play a quick little game that we call Impossible Trivia. It's where, I come up with a trivia question that I'm betting that you won't be able to get right. And assuming you don't get it right, I'm going to make a donation to the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Oh, good.
If you do get it right, I'll still do the donation, and you'll get your name on our Hall of Fame. But I'm betting you don't get it right. And you two can workshop your answer on this. And the question is pretty simple, which is, we all know Master Chief, who Steve has given life to with his voice. But do you know how much Master Chief weighs in his armor? His weight in pounds.
How exact do we have to be right
Yeah.
on the number?
You don't
is
have
Right
to
style.
include ounces, just to the pounds.
Oh, good.
Just
That's a
guess
relief.
1 pound, and you'll be all right. If you go over, like Price is
So
Right.
with it, I'm going
With
to say
armor.
1,000 pounds.
Yeah, I would.
1,000 pounds.
All right, I'll say 1,200.
Wait, all right, Jen, you're not Googling, are you?
No. Where would I be Googling?
Were you like piping the audio into your Cortana digital assistant? Because you got it right.
Cortana, help me
You
out.
got it right. 1,000 pounds. Yeah, it's actually 1,000 pounds. Yeah. So that's first time
It just
ever.
seemed like a good round number.
It is.
So
It is an
I
odd.
went with it.
It's an oddly round number,
It's too
isn't
perfect. Yeah, like
it?
that's.
It is a little
Yeah.
too perfect.
Yeah, right?
Well,
But that's
I
very
said
impressive.
1,200 because that was when his weight was taken on Monday morning. You know, he had a hell of a weekend. And,
He hadn't had a cup of coffee yet.
He was feeling a
know
little
how that
bloated.
goes.
You know.
it was pizza and
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. No,
Nice.
He
Very
probably
good.
has a rough bender, when he's out after a mission.
Real woo.
I gotta
Yeah.
think if Master Chief's Bender would be tough.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Not only for him, but for those around him.
Oh yeah. That's
the world.
probably a 4 or 5 Advil morning, I'm guessing.
Amen. Amen.
All right. Well, thank you both for spending the afternoon with us. It's so great to get a chance to see you chat and hear your stories. And thank you.
Yeah, it was nice meeting both.
Well,
of you.
Alex, thank you, and
Peter.
thank you for having a role in changing our lives, which you certainly have for the last 20-some years. So, and
right on,
and,
right on.
and-
Thank you,
and
too.
you and Marty and Joe and everybody involved made one hell of a franchise, and you should be very proud of it.
Right on. Thank you. Thank you. Same to you, and to you, Jen. Thanks, and we'll see you around.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Take care. See you, Aaron.
See ya.
Man, aren't those two just awesome to hang out with?
They are. I really enjoyed them. And
Yeah. Steve's got such a funny vibe too. He's so chill.
he's a jockey, dude.
Yeah,
He's a jockey. Yeah, he's.
I'm sure I listened to him in
Everybody
Chicago.
has. Yeah, or a commercial. Yeah,
Back when we were commuting, in those
Yeah.
days.
that's true. And I lived in Chicago, so I'm sure I've heard him. He has a really good radio voice too.
Yeah, and pretty cool getting Jen's background as well.
Yeah.
In theater, which makes a lot of sense. And so excited for her being on the TV show.
Yeah, I still have to watch that. It's on my list. It takes me and I have an excuse. We started watching any show we start watching, my wife and I. It takes us like maybe a week or two to finish one episode. Because, we started.
Because
the kids,
you get interrupted. Cause,
the kids, and all that stuff. So there's no time for that, for any.
Yeah.
And like a lot of these shows are really violent, so you can't watch them with
Yeah.
the kids.
Yeah, I don't. Why is that? But we've got like a couple episodes left on Ozark. Have you seen that one?
No, I want to though. I know that one. That's the it's like a NSA or something.
It's crime. It's a sort of in the Sopranos, Breaking Bad, violent drama.
Political crime. It's got
Category.
Jason Bateman in it, right?
Yeah, that's not really. Well, politics is part of it too, but it's not. It's drugs.
Okay, yeah, drug. Okay, yeah. It's serious, is what you're saying. It's kind of
serious.
like Breaking
Yeah.
Bad without the comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But back to Jen and Steve. There were a couple interesting.
there was one really, really good one. You go first.
Okay, so here's something that because we were talking about unions before either like last episode and before we rolled the interview today, and then also AI we talk about quite a bit. I did a little bit of looking online about how copyright law is treating generative AI, and well, at least in the U.S., the U.S. they published a brief related to U.S. copyright law, which asserts that work that contains AI-generated content may or may not be copyrightable depending on how much of it was generated by a machine and how much human creativity was involved. And that's the vocabulary they use: human creativity. So, well, that's what the brief says. That, for instance, you could generate maybe 1 million images in Midjourney, and if the work that you are producing is a creative way of combining these machine-produced images,
like samples, like rap music and all that, like Run DMC, right? Run DMC had the huge.
But if the majority of the work is that human creative element of the, and I don't know how they make this determination, then it's copyrightable. But the parts that were created by the AI, those parts are not copyrightable. So somebody else could use those things, even though you used them.
So Midjourney stuff is okay. That's interesting.
So
I don't know how
so
I feel
your final product that takes a bunch of AI created blah is copyrightable, in theory, but the components, if they were AI generated, are not. That's my read of the publication that they released last month. I thought that was a little interesting. That at least the government is trying to think about how to treat content that's being created by generative AI.
So it's funny you bring this up because just yesterday in a chat group I'm on Discord. Hey, join our Discord. That was not planned, but yeah, on our Discord, on a different Discord channel, not ours.
But wait, are you saying join our Discord or join this other one? Which one are you talking
Join Fourth Kurt. No, the other one's is a different one, and you could join that one too if you want. But a friend of mine's like posted a picture, and he's like, "Why am I getting these weird artifacts in these Midjourney? I'm trying to make a logo in Midjourney, and I'm getting these weird artifacts." And I looked at it, and I instantly knew that Midjourney was trying to. It's using art that has watermarks, and Midjourney thinks the watermarks are details. So you're seeing Midjourney. You know how Midjourney does.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah. So you get these artifacts in the art that's literally the watermarks it's stealing.
Watermarks from the original.
From the original, which is in the image. So it's like, and I was like, yeah, dude, those are the watermarks from the original image that they don't want people to steal.
So, in any case, the conversation reminded me that because we talked a bit with them about their how they feel about like Jen supplied her voice for a very high profile AI, and she doesn't have any ownership over that.
Something else that I thought was interesting in that conversation was when Steve was telling the story of when they'd go to the cons and people would come up, and he was telling you that he said to you like, I wish you could hear what these people say, like how they got through hard times because of the game and stuff. And it reminded me of a story that there was this, and because, games really have this weird, they don't have a good translation into like sentimental art. You know what I mean? Like it's very like, you don't really connect it with emotion like that too often. I'll give you like, you know what I'm saying? Like the closest I've seen it is Hollywood trying to do it with like the Last Starfighter and things like this. Anyways, it reminded me. It was a very emotional story what he was telling me. Like, man, that's and it reminded me of the story. And both of our dads have passed, right? So you might get this. So like, there's this story of this Xbox that this kid used to play a rally racing game with his dad, right? And the dad passes away, and the kid's growing up, right? And like he hooks up the Xbox one day, and he's playing the game, and he notices that there's this. If you play racing games, there's a ghost in the level, right? Yeah. And he's like, he realizes that because the ghost has initials, and it's his dad's initials. Yeah. And that's his dad. So he's racing against this ghost, and he can't beat it. So he's playing it like every day, trying to beat this ghost. And then he finally beats it, but just before the finish line, he hits the brakes and lets the ghost win. So he could like, dude, it made me cry when I saw that video. Yeah, you can look it up. It's a really good video.
Yeah, it's a great story. That's a great story.
But it's got video games, right? Like you don't get too many stories like that, like, and I think he actually gets those at these cons. Like I don't know of any other than this one, but he's probably heard like, man, it was a hard time, with like my family, and this game was there, like, or with my friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's stories like that I think he gets to hear more than I think we do probably. But yeah, that's what it got me thinking of.
Yeah, and I think the generation that has come up after us, not to say that we're super old, but games are a bigger part of their lives and social lives at that age. When I was in high school, I was playing a little bit of Atari but probably more so I was listening to music, So a lot of my formative memories have a soundtrack,
Yeah.
But I think a lot of, if you look at, when I look at my kids as they're going through
Minecraft.
high school, it's my son's. Well, yeah, a lot of that socialization and those formative memories are in the context of gaming. So those emotional memories, have a game track.
Yeah,
not just soundtrack.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Fortnite dances. That's what kids do now. They just get in like little circles and start dancing.
They still do that?
Yeah, dude, they did it today.
That was like 3-4 years ago.
I was playing with Jay right now.
Your kids do that?
No, people do. Like it's yeah, just literally like an hour ago it happened. Yeah.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining us once again. Hope you enjoyed our conversation with Jen and Steve. We sure did.
Yeah, it's
and
great.
We will see you next time.
Join the Discord. See you later. Thank you for listening to the Fourth Curtain Podcast. To get a peek at upcoming episodes or to send in questions to the show, visit our site at thefourthcurtain.com. And be sure to follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks again for listening.